So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Lin. Welcome to my presentation. I'm the lead data visualization designer at realtor.com, which is a News Corp company and the fastest growing online real estate service provider. And by fast growing, I mean we have the industry leading growth in the number of unique visitors compared with our main competitors like Zillow and Trulia. And we also have #1 audience engagement in terms of the number of page views and the time spent on website per visit. So today I'm here to share with you a case study about how we use data to identify the potential business problems and how we solve them to make our product better in terms of user experience. So this is our website for you to discover your perfect home. So no matter you want to buy or rent a home, you only need to type your zip code or something like the city name, and then we will bring up a list of the property in that area, and you can adjust your search result here. And you see there's a list of the photos of the properties. And if you want to learn more about a specific property, you just click on the photo and we will bring you to a property page for more details. And at the same time, you can also express your interest in this property by submitting a lead form here, which is also one of our main revenue sources. So far it sounds like a traditional online shopping thing, right? So online shopping website like Amazon just try very hard to get you on the shopping cart and expect you can check it out. And realtor.com just try hard to get you to the property page and expect you can submit the lead form here. But if you take a closer look, you will see the difference. So for online shopping, you can actually get on the online shopping website from lots of different external channels. And once you get on their homepage or product page, you will be expected to put everything you want in the shopping cart, and you may also maybe you pay for all of them immediately, and maybe you just regret tomorrow or next week, so you can also return it immediately. So you can see that this is actually a very casual and lightweight process, I would say. And you can also see that lots of things in the whole process can happen in a very short amount of time. However, the home buying process is a different story. So the first and the foremost is lots of people only do it one time in their life. And another thing is the whole process usually takes about 6 months in average, or sometimes even more than that, maybe more than 1 year. And at the same time, home buyers also need to educate themselves with lots of home buying information to so for example, like the real estate market trend, or maybe some other financial options, and maybe the neighborhood information, and so on and so forth. And finally, they feel confident to say yes to realtors. So that will be a very long process, and in that way, realtor.com also want to provide the lots of home buying information to help that to facilitate that kind of self-education process. And at the same time, we also expect it can at least contribute some lead submission for us. So However, in this diagram, you can actually see that that contribution to the lead submission doesn't really happen here, because you can only see a very small amount of traffic coming from the home buying information to the search page and to the property page, and maybe they potentially contribute a very, very little bit to the lead submission. So that's the problem we want to look into. So,
I'm wondering, what's the organic search versus search?
Organic search just means that you you just search something by yourself. You're not triggered by some other incentives. Okay. Yeah. So in today's case study, I will just use one of the information page we call local page, which is about the neighborhood information as an example. So in this page, you can see lots of information about San Francisco. You can see a snapshot of the housing market and the schools and geolocation and lifestyles. And if you keep scrolling down, you can even see something like the demographic data and crime data and so on and so forth. So all this data sounds very useful for home buying, right? But if we look into the number of the unique visitor, you can see that this local page performs a little bit lower, or maybe you can actually see it's almost all-time lowest compared with other pages. And if you look into the number of visits and page views, you can also see the same thing. So in some way, we see it like the local page has very low exposure to our audience. And we wonder why it happens. Does it mean that users don't really need this kind of information, or users do need it, but they don't really know what to do with it, or they don't even notice the existence of our local pages? So we keep looking into other data set. So for bounce rate, you can see that local page actually performs not that bad compared with other pages. It only has the maybe 30 to 40 bounce rate, not as high as 70 or 80. So it means that as long as our users can get on the local page, they actually try a little bit, at least try a little bit to interact with the information. So that is the evidence to say that, okay, the information is useful to some degree, but how much time they really spend on this page and where do they go right after the visit on this page, that's also something we want to find out. So if you go to spend time on the local page, you can see maybe over 80% of the users just give up within 1 minute. And if you go to see the top 20 local page visit paths, you can also see that 19 of them actually start from those external channels and ends right on the local pages. And only one of them is coming from property page and then still ends on the local page. So the way we see it is we see a huge disconnection between the local page and other realtor.com pages, in addition to the low exposure. So those are two problems we want to resolve. So the first thing we do to solve those problems is we try to reorganize the content we have on the local page, because we believe that's a very useful content, but users don't really know what to do with it. So you also know that lots of the neighborhood data is actually geolocation based. So we think we should be able to visualize everything on the map. And if you just think like that, and you call it as a visualization, you will actually get something like this disaster here. So you can see we actually get everything on this map. You have the San Francisco's boundaries highlighted, and you have the heat map to showcase the crime occurrence, and you have the yellow circles for the schools, and you have blue dot for the neighborhood amenities. Sometimes actually less is more, but I don't mean that you have to eliminate some of the data dimension. I'm telling you that maybe sometimes you just need to decide what you want to what you want the users to focus on, so that they are your primary dimension, and you can just subdue other things to make those primary things stand out. So like this example, what we did is we just make the background map in grayscale, and at the same time we created something like a spotlight effect for the boundary of the city, and we also turned the crime occurrence heat map into grayscale. So you can see that these three dimensions can actually coexist in harmony, and you don't actually need to add more and more colors to largely clutter the map up. And you can see the blue dot and the yellow circle naturally stand out. And the next things we do is we also find that lots of home buyers actually want to, they actually love to compare different neighborhood before they really look into a specific property. So in that case, we are thinking based on the neighborhood content we have, we should be able to create something like a very simple index for users to compare all the metrics about this neighborhood. So for example, you can see there's 84 score out of 100 for amenity, and 8 out of 10 for school, and 97 out of 100 for crime occurrence in San Francisco, which means dangerous. And so I think in this way, users can easily compare by comparing those different metrics for finding their ideal neighborhood. So the next thing is we want to solve that low exposure problem. So the way we solve it is we try to incorporate what we have in the local page directly with the property listing. So when you try to search for the properties, you can see that everything about the neighborhood also shows up along with the properties on the map. So it will help users very easy to find out which part of the city maybe is also affordable, and it is safe, and it is in a very good school district, and it is very convenient. And when user find out that property, they just click on the property, and then all other unrelated points will just collapse, and you can see the points related to that property stand out, and you can also see more details at the left-hand side for that particular property. Yeah. So this is the user experience we want to provide for our home buyers. So that's actually all I have today. And the thing I try to show you is a systematical approach that realtor.com takes to identify some business problem we have and how we relate it to the user experience problem and how we can solve them to provide a better user experience for our home buyers. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it and learn something today. And I would love to take questions from you guys.
Do you guys have any data on whether the user experience actually improved after the change?
We actually do it before we launch it. So usually,
Repeat the question.
okay. Sorry, let me repeat the question. So the question was, how do we is that the question? How do we evaluate our design, right? So we actually usually do it right before we launch. So the way we launch it is maybe we create. We try to identify some of the target user first, and we do the A/B testing, and those target users will be the only user that can use the new features first. And then after that kind of evaluation, we can keep tuning the design, and after that we just launch it. And of course we keep looking into those kind of data to see if that is a good design and if it really brings up a great impact to our users. So we keep iteratively to do the improvement like this. Mm-hmm.
Probably along the same direction of thoughts. Yes, I would think if you treat your user as a integrated element in your design,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you actually just look at the design, try to improve yourself, and from the curve, maybe you can also get some feedback from the user and to validate whether those are indeed the issue why they didn't click through as well, right? And also in addition, what you did, I was also thinking, so many, you are dealing with kind of information always presented
Mm-hmm.
to begin with, right? And so that's why it turns out the tone down to make it not so loud and so on. However, it could be still so many dots, I didn't even know where to click.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of things you can ask let the user to specify whether their preference or concern. Maybe crime, maybe
Mhm.
school, is
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
first choice. You start to filter out some of the less relevant stuff. It's just my hypothesis. The best, I think, is actually treat the user as a part of your design
Mm-hmm.
process and get the feedback from them. That probably will be. I'm not in the design business, but I did do focus group study and those stuff to help out to make design decisions in the past. And I thought that's the most straightforward feedback. And now you're online, you probably can do that too, right?
Right. That's a very good feedback for
But
for our
just
process.
live in a hypothesis without any feedback from your user
Uh,
community.
yeah, we actually do a little bit user testing like that, but for some of the case, like you mentioned, maybe you say that we can do that user testing to figure out why users doesn't really click on something. But sometimes it's a challenge also for us to find out who are really those users don't really click through those. And also another challenge is how we contact them and how we persuade them. So usually the user testing, you just recruit people kind of randomly, or you try to focus on some of the specific group of people. Yeah.
know if I have any experience with that. Like, so when you're looking at sort of more quantitative
Yes.
measures like this, they can point you in a direction. This is sort of restating a little what we're just saying, but then you have the qualitative explanation for why that is, and sometimes you can recruit people who are maybe not the people who literally
Yeah.
didn't do the thing, but who are representative or close to representative, and then you have them look at this screen and you do a basically usability evaluation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found in some cases, for example, like site flows and all such, is that people would not click through because of something very silly, like they couldn't see the button or they didn't understand the label on the button. or
Right.
coloring. And
Yeah.
you only see that as you and if you don't know that if you do the quantitative, then you get this recursion. Like you get rid of the button because you don't think it's important, but it's not because of the reasons you think. It's because they didn't see it. So it's a sort of like qualitative thing. That's one approach anyway.
Right.
So I can share some of the things we did, even, silly, not silly, we try to get as much as possible user feedback upfront. So even if I picture myself in your business for doing this design, we actually even just sketch the user interface, and then we actually prepare structured questions, and we recruit certain people. For you are working with a sizable company, recruit even just for your employee, and then ask them to pretend they are doing this business or this task and what they need to actually get the meaning of the user interface correctly. If less, that means your user interface can still be improved. And then once we actually having a kind of workable, functional prototype or pre-alpha version, I even ask our company's colleagues and just say, we have this, voluntarily you can try it out and give us feedback. You won't get really a lot of feedback, but still you get some. And a lot of things actually come from this random sampling, actually give you more deep insight into what user is looking for and how they react to the user input. That's my experience. And then we improve. And now you're online, it's even easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually also, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
I come from a consumer company, that's my first job, so.
All right.
We are more concerned about users' acceptance.
All right. So I guess the time is up. So thank you very much and have a great weekend.
You too.